restore trade here on forth?
Right. In fact, Professor Swan Singh, if I can rope you into this discussion, what according to you is the most significant aspect of this summit? Because there are a lot of aspects to it. We are talking about posturing, we are talking about trade deals, we are talking about defense cooperation, we are talking about labor cooperation, and we are also talking about the strategic timing of it all. But what, as per your understanding, is the most significant thing of this meet?
Or summit meetings that India will host and is hosting is how to make India Viksit Bharat with 35 trillion economy by 2047. Who can help us in reaching that centennial target that India has put for itself? Now, if you look among major powers, you have United States with 28 trillion economy, you have Chinese with 20 trillion economy, Russian economy is about 2 trillion, half of India's own GDP. Now, what makes Russia nevertheless significant? Defense industry makes Russia, energy makes Russia still inordinately significant for India, because to become Viksit Bharat, India will need lots and lots of energy and reliable supplies of energy, and also defense partnerships, not imports, but defense partnerships. And Russia is the only exception which has been most comfortable in moving away from simply exporting defense equipment to India to developing joint venture in innovation, in research, in development, in production and exports, making, for example, BrahMos as an iconic weapon that India is now seen very competitive in exporting. So Russia has its own relevance for India to emerge as a great power in next 2 to 3 decades. India definitely is very important to Russia. India is now 4th largest economy, going to be 3rd largest economy, growing at 8+%, huge middle class, technology hub, enormous market, place for investments. Russia would like to also then cultivate and sort of build close relationship with India. So both have their strategic reasons, and then look at tactics and optics. Tactically, President Putin has not been able to travel around the world given the ICC warrant against him. And of course, only China made an exception in Tianjin when Xi Jinping, Putin and Indian Prime Minister Modi met. And last week he was in Bishkek addressing the CSTO summit meeting, Collective Security Treaty Organization, which Russia takes over the chair from 1st January next year. And then his visit to New Delhi, world's largest population country, fastest growing economy, a very important power, which is giving him an important platform. I understand in Bharat Mandapam, he's going to address 800 to 1,000 people today. It's the most attractive thing world can offer to President Putin, where he's going to showcase how he's welcome around the world. So both have their tactical, optical and strategic reasons to celebrate and showcase that bonhomie and friendship. Nevertheless, they will have limits. I believe once the Ukraine war is over, you will see Russian energy moving back to Europe. Before pandemic, we were importing only 2% of total exports of Russia's energy. We are reaching now, far much more. India's total imports percentage has gone up to 36, 37% now. It could go back. I mean, Russia will choose high value and easier and more cost-effective targets to supply energy. But nuclear energy, therefore, is going to be another significant area. If India needs energy, Russia is useful for, huge projects like Kodan Kolam. How to move forward in taking their unit 3, 4, 5, 6 forward. How to move to small modular reactors. How to, build the whole value chain from mining to fuel fabrication to waste management. Nuclear industry is another very, very powerful pillar of cooperation of India and Russia. Biggest problem for them today is how to balance their trade, which has gone up from $8 billion in 2020 to $68 billion last year, virtually one-sided, because India exports only $4.9 billion compared to Russia exporting to India $64+ billion. It's one-sided trade. It will not grow unless it becomes balanced. Russia has to open up and they have to find where can India export and what can India export. and that is very significant challenge to the bilateral relationship now. And China is always the big elephant in the room. Russia has 4 times bigger trade with China compared to even the bloated, exponentially growing trade of India. They have trade about $245 billion, very balanced trade, unlike India-Russia trade. Balanced because Russia exports $129 billion, China exports $119 billion. Not just balanced, very diversified. China's trade is such that the biggest commodity China exports to Russia is cars, $11 billion out of 119. It's a very diversified trade. So India, Russia will have to explore balancing their trade, diversifying their trade. Those are the brass tacks which they have to deal with, other than signaling to the world that the bonhomie that they have and the protocol that was breached yesterday with the Prime Minister going to airport, both of them traveling in the same car. Fantastic. Those are great signals. But those are only signals.
I think, Professor Singh, that's a very pertinent point that you've raised, and we'll come back to those deals. We'll come back to those areas of cooperation later. But Ambassador Goyal, if I can come to you with that display of bonhomie, with that display of camaraderie and friendship, Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. We saw it in China. We saw both of them sharing that car ride, and today again, we saw both of them again sharing that car ride to the Prime Minister's residence. This is actually more about, it's not just about trade, it's not about cooperation, it's about showcasing the friendship of these two leaders of two nations which are coming up and growing powers in the Indian Ocean region.
Whether it is trade or it is defense deals or space, anything. They are all very, very important parameters, but they don't require the Prime Minister and the President to meet to clear. Those things happen at the level of the ministers and they do sign the deals. What is happening between India and Russia now, as it happened in Tianjin, is sending a message, and it is not just optics. It is sending a message to the world, and I'm going to underline the same thing again, as I said earlier. It is sending a message that India-Russia relationship has not weakened despite the naysayers and despite those who are raising doubts and suspicions about where it is going to be. There will be, of course, constraints. The world is not the same as it was 50 years ago. It has changed a lot. But despite all those changes in the world, very briefly to say that India, Russia remain close together, and in this emerging power matrix, their relationship is going to be one of the key parameters. I think that is a message which both Prime Minister and the President are sending through this visit. Shivani.
Absolutely. In fact, let me just introduce this piece of information to our viewers.